my name is Sheila McKay from the McKay Manor Musers, and I am here in beautiful Castle Rock, Colorado with my awesome oldest daughter, Kira. She's about to have her fourth baby, little baby girl, in 4 days, is it, Kira? That's when the due date is. We'll see when she decides to arrive. Anyway, what I wanted to share with you today is what we call a textured edge baby blanket. And if you've ever gotten one of our kits from one of our shows, what it has in it is 2 pieces of fabric that are exactly the same size. So these happen to be 30 by 30 squares of fabric, so same size. Pick 2 contrasting fabrics, so 2 fabrics that you like that will go together. And then you're going to need to pick a textured edge. This happens to be one of my favorites. It's called the Shaggy Cuddle. It's from Shannon, and it comes 60 inches wide, so it comes on a bolt. And what you're going to need to go around the outside edge of this blanket is the perimeter of the blanket, whatever size you decide to make it. So in this case, what we put in the kits is 6 inches and it's 60 inches wide. So if you have 2 strips that are 3 inches each, you'll have that 120 inches that you need to go around the blanket. So this is going to look a little bit scary, and my other daughter, will never do this, but this fabric, it's very interesting. It actually tears. So don't tell Shannon I said that, because maybe it won't work, and maybe it won't even work this time. But if it does, it's going to save you a lot of cuddle dust. Or cuddle shaggy fur in this case. If you end up cutting it, you can always just cut down one of the lines or draw on there with a marker and cut it 3 inches. But what I did is on each side of here, I actually tore it, and we put 6 inches in the kit. But I'm going to show you in theory how you can tear it. Should we see if it works? So what I've done is put a cut in here, and then all you're going to do is just pull it. And pull it. And pull it some more. And pull it some more. And pull it some more. We're almost there. Pull it to the end, and you will have to cut through the selvage at the end. But look at that. Now you have this really, really fun textured edge that we're going to put around the blanket. So what you're going to do is take the 2 short ends, and you are going to sew them together right here so that you have a piece that's 120 inches long. But you're also going to need to do something with the corners here. So for each one of the corners, I don't want a square corner on my blanket, I actually want a rounded corner. So I'm going to take this really high-tech tool. This is Kira's dessert plate or salad plate, and we're just going to set it in the corner, and then we're going to take the rotary cutter and just go around and pull it off. You're going to have beautiful rounded corners. So I'm going to do that to each one of the corners, and I'll be right back. I'm back. So the next thing I did was you lay your fabric out on a really flat surface, and then what you're going to do is lay the textured edge all the way around the outside perimeter of the blanket. And you can use pins to hook this on, but I have found that I love these little things called clover clips. Number 1, they don't poke you, and number 2, they just hold the fabric together really well, and they're big and long and you can see them. So if you do use regular pins, make sure you pick the long ones with the big heads, because otherwise they might get buried in this cuddle and you may not find them. So what you want to do is leave about a 3-inch tail at least, and then you're going to start just laying it around the outside edge. And when you get to a corner, I wanted to show you a corner, so I saved the last corner. What you're going to do is tuck the shag inside, and because you're going on an outside corner, you want to put a little bit extra fabric, extra trim around it because it's got to stretch itself around the outside corner. I found that sometimes people kind of pull it, you know, pull it around, and then it ends up pulling your blanket in, and you definitely will not like that look. So put a little bit extra in, and then just keep tucking the fur in as you're going and putting more clips on until, and I put these clips almost every, probably 2 inches, because what I have found is that shaggy cuddle in general, it just likes to move. So the more you can pin it in place so that it doesn't move, the better. And instead, well, one time I actually tried this as well. I just thought, oh no, I'll just stitch it on as I'm going around. Well, that didn't work at all, because this stuff is actually pretty darn stretchy. So you can see how much it's stretching right now. And it stretches without you even realizing that it's stretching. So it's really important to put it down, make sure you're not stretching it at all. And then as soon as you come right up to where the fabric meets again, so now I have my 2 tails here. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch seam, stitch all the way around the outside edge, and then I'm going to take these 2 together and I'm going to stitch right here, and I'm going to cut off the extra tail, and I'll be back to show you the rest of the blanket. Here we are again. So we're at Kira's wonderful Elna sewing machine, or actually it's a Janome sewing machine. I forgot, I upgraded her. And what you're going to do is just do a 1/2 inch seam. Pull out the little clover clips as you go. And once again, when you get to the corner where you're going to turn around this corner, remember that you put some extra fabric in there. Don't let it try to sneak back out. Keep trying to just keep it under there so that you'll have the extra fabric around the edge, around that corner. Okay, so I sewed all the way around. Here's the tail I left at the beginning. And now I'm coming up to where I'm going to get these 2 pieces together. So once again, as you sew, make sure you just kind of tuck the extra fur inside. Make sure you're not pulling on it. And just continue your 1/2 inch seam until you get to, if you can get unburied from all this fur, but you can feel it right there where I'm going to come up against where I started. And then you're just going to back stitch and cut your thread. And then you're going to take these 2 tails like this, and see right where you ended your stitch right there. You're going to make a nice stitch across here. And then use your pair of scissors to cut it off. And see what happens when you use scissors to cut it? Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of it. So our next step is going to be to take this one and you're gonna lay it out on, again, a nice big flat table. And oftentimes, if the fabric has a nap, you can feel which way it's going. Like I can tell, you might not be able to see it. You can see I'm kind of brushing its fur the wrong way, that it really should go this way. And on this one, well, it does have a nap, and you can see it because it has a directional print as well. So you'd probably want the nap to go the same way. So you're gonna line up your fabric so that the nap, in this case, is both going down. And what you're gonna wanna do is put this as close to the corners as you can. And then you're gonna get your handy dandy clips again, and you're gonna take the second fabric and the edge of your trim. So you're just gonna hook the second fabric to the trim, and I usually start there, and then I'll come over right to the corner. It's like there's my corner, and right here's my corner. So I'm gonna put one here, and then I'm gonna come back over to another corner, and I'm gonna put that corner together. And same deal, I'll go around to here, 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 and here. And then I'll come back and put clips in between about 2 inches apart. So I'll be back after I have all the clips on. Okay, so we're back. I just wanted to make sure you saw what we were actually doing here, that it really is the bottom fabric where we attached it first. You put the second fabric on top, you lift up the trim and you're attaching it to the second fabric. So you're never actually sewing the first fabric, the 2 primary fabrics together. They never get sewn together. Try to keep tucking these in, especially around the corner. And then when you get ready to sew, what you're going to have to do is leave a hole so that you can turn the whole blanket inside out. Because what we're going to do is stitch around all the way around here. And I usually try to choose a side that doesn't have one of my seams in it already. So there's one of my seams, and here's one of my seams. So choose a side that didn't have the seam in it and put some reminders here. So if you can see, normally I use the big clips, but here I'm putting 2 smaller clips, and that's going to remind me, okay, start sewing here, go all the way around, and stop sewing here. So then you're going to leave this hole and we're going to turn it inside out. So we'll go to the sewing machine and start sewing. And then we'll be back when we get close to where it ends. So pull out that one little red clip, put it down, do the little backwards, and then you're just gonna, again, we're just sewing the second side of the strip to the second fabric, and I'll be right back. I sewed around everything, and I'm coming up to where that second red clip was. So that tells me it's time to stop, because apparently once I did actually sew it all the way done, and it is really hard to get to unpick cuddle fabric, thread from cuddle fabric. So I'm going to stop right where that red clip was, and I'm going to back stitch and cut my thread. And then you can see that it really is just that piece of trim is sewn between the 2 layers of fabric. It's almost like a gusset, or if you've ever made a seat cushion cover, it would be like that strip that goes around the middle. So sometimes it's pretty easy to lose where your hole is, so I put a clip in there oftentimes. But then you'll want to reach in the hole, and I usually go back to the far corner and pull it through, and then just keep pulling it, and pulling it. And when you get it turned all the way inside out, I usually just take my hand and move it all the way around the outside edge, just so that it all gets pushed out nice. There we go. And back to here where we have a little tiny hole. And you can either sew this hole up or with a needle and thread, or you can sew it on your sewing machine. But since I'm going to be using this at a show, I always like to keep the little hole so I can turn it inside out and show people how easy it is. But with that, you've made a very simple, very fun baby blanket. It's one way to get out of making bindings. So again, you can see it's just the layer of cute textured edge sewn between 2 layers of fabric, and you have a cute little baby blanket. So I wanted to close this video with Kira. So Kira is about to have a baby, as I mentioned, 4 days from now. So that new little baby blanket could be for her new baby. But while we were at shows, people said, you know what, you should make these for adults, because they want soft and snuggly things too. So I actually made this one for Kira. It takes 2 yards of fabric, 2 yards of contrasting fabric. It's 60 inches wide. And you can see the purple on the bottom and the print on the top. And you can roll yourself up in it. And as I tell everyone, it's way cheaper than therapy. So I hope you enjoyed our video, and you can make some textured edge blankets for yourself.